Why do some men remain calm while the world screams for their attention? While insults fly, while critics bark, while desperate voices try to provoke a reaction, they are not numb. They are not weak. They are not pretending not to care. They understand something most people never will. Attention is power, and the moment you give it away without calculation, you surrender leverage. Most men believe power comes from dominance, from speaking louder, from winning arguments, from proving themselves. But real power often looks like absence. Niccolò Machiavelli observed this in courts filled with ambition and betrayal. The princes who rushed to defend their honor were the princes who exposed their insecurity. The rulers who reacted emotionally revealed their pressure points, and once pressure points are visible, they become targets. The most dangerous men were not the loudest. They were the most selective. Selective with words, selective with reactions, selective with attention. Because attention is not free. It is the most expensive currency you possess. Every time you react to someone who disrespects you, you validate them. Every time you argue with someone beneath your position, you elevate them. Every time you explain yourself to someone who does not deserve explanation, you reduce your perceived value. Silence, when chosen strategically, creates tension, and tension creates obsession. When someone expects a reaction and receives nothing, their mind begins to spiral. They replay the moment, they question themselves. They wonder what you are thinking. They analyze your stillness as if it hides something deeper, because it does. It hides control. Most people are addicted to feedback. They need visible signs that they matter. They need confirmation that their words landed, that their presence disturbed you, that their attack caused impact. Remove that confirmation and you remove their stability. This is the art of ignoring. Not childish avoidance, not passive weakness, not emotional shutdown. Strategic withdrawal. There is a difference between ignoring because you are hurt and ignoring because you are above the exchange. The first is fragile. The second is lethal. Machiavelli understood that rulers who chased approval became prisoners of perception, but rulers who withdrew their attention became magnetic. People leaned in, they tried harder, they revealed more, they exposed their desperation. And desperation is the most exploitable emotion in human psychology. When you ignore strategically, you are not disappearing, you are repositioning. You are shifting from participant to observer, from reactor to controller, from target to force. Understand this clearly. The world constantly tests you, not through physical threats, but through emotional hooks. Provocations, criticism, subtle disrespect, social pressure, expectations. Each one is a baited hook designed to extract your attention. And once hooked, you are no longer in control. You are being steered. The man who reacts immediately can be predicted. The man who stays silent becomes unreadable. And what cannot be read cannot be controlled. Ignoring people is not about pride. It is about hierarchy. When a king responds to every whisper, he lowers himself to the level of gossip. When he remains unmoved, whispers lose oxygen. The ruthless part of this strategy is not cruelty. It is detachment. You must detach from the need to correct every misunderstanding, from the urge to win every debate, from the instinct to defend yourself against every insult. Because the moment you feel compelled to respond, you have already been moved. And power is about not being moved. Most people are controlled by what irritates them. What happens inside the mind of someone you ignore is far more violent than any argument you could have with them. When a person attacks you, criticizes you, or tries to provoke you, they are not only seeking dominance, they are seeking validation. They want proof that they exist in your psychological space. They want confirmation that their words have weight. The moment you deny them that confirmation, something destabilizes. The human mind is wired to complete loops. When someone throws an insult, they expect reaction. Reaction closes the loop, silence leaves it open, and an open loop becomes obsession. They replay the interaction in their head. They analyze your expression. They question whether they went too far. They wonder if you are plotting something. They begin projecting fears into the silence. Silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror they see their own insecurity reflected back at them. This is why strategic ignoring is ruthless. It forces the other person to confront themselves without interference. When you respond, you guide their attention. When you remain silent, their attention turns inward, and inward is where their doubts live. Most people cannot tolerate being ignored because it threatens their perceived significance. Attention equals relevance. Relevance equals status. Remove attention and you remove perceived status. That is why critics escalate when ignored. They grow louder, they try harder, they increase intensity, not because they are powerful, but because they are losing influence. Influence requires engagement. If you do not engage, their influence dissolves. Machiavelli understood that enemies who are starved of attention often destroy themselves. When ignored, they overextend. They reveal too much. They become emotional. Emotion makes them predictable. Predictability makes them vulnerable. By doing nothing, you shift them into a reactive state. You remain still while they move recklessly. That asymmetry creates power. Ignoring strategically does not mean you are unaware. It means you are observing without participating. It means you see the manipulation attempt and choose not to validate it. Most conflicts are fueled by mutual ego. One person attacks, the other defends. Energy flows back and forth. When one side refuses to supply energy, the system collapses. The aggressor is left striking air, and striking air exhausts them. The deeper truth is this: people fear invisibility more than they fear confrontation. Confrontation at least acknowledges existence. Silence erases it. When you ignore someone who expected engagement, you send a message without speaking. You are not on my level. You are not worth my reaction. You do not have access to my emotional space. That message lands harder than any insult. But this only works if your silence is controlled. If you ignore outwardly but burn inwardly, you remain trapped. True indifference must be trained. It requires discipline over your inner dialogue. It requires refusing to replay their words in your mind. It requires deciding that their opinion holds no structural relevance to your path. Strategic ignoring is not about suppressing emotion. It is about deprioritizing irrelevance. Not every voice deserves access to your mental bandwidth. Bandwidth is limited. Attention is limited. Energy is limited. And ruthless men guard what is limited. They do not argue with shadows. They do not wrestle with gossip. They do not feed critics. They understand that reaction is a resource, and resources must be invested wisely. The moment you stop reacting to low-value provocations, your presence changes. You appear heavier, more distant, harder to read. And what is harder to read is harder to manipulate. This is where untouchability begins, not in aggression, not in dominance displays, but in selective invisibility. You become visible only when necessary. You speak only when strategic. You engage only when profitable. Everyone else receives nothing, and nothing is devastating to those who expected everything. Strategic ignoring becomes even more powerful when applied within hierarchies. Social structures operate like chessboards. Every interaction either advances your position or weakens it. Most men move impulsively. They respond to every comment, every challenge, every attempt to draw them into emotional combat. But in social chess, movement is exposure. The more you move without necessity, the more you reveal your strategy. Machiavellian thinking favors restraint. When someone attempts to challenge your authority publicly, your instinct may be to counter immediately, but immediate response signals emotional investment. Emotional investment signals vulnerability. Vulnerability invites further testing. Instead, the disciplined man evaluates whether engagement benefits his long-term position. If the challenger is low status, responding elevates him. Silence keeps him beneath you. If the challenger is high status, measured acknowledgement may be necessary, but still without emotional charge. Ignoring is not random. It is calculated. You ignore downward. You respond upward with precision. That is hierarchy management. Consider court politics in Renaissance Italy. The loudest nobles often burned themselves out, trying to undermine rivals. The quiet ones waited. They allowed others to reveal alliances, insecurities, and ambitions. They collected information. They did not interrupt enemies while they were making mistakes. Ignoring strategically gives you observation advantage. When you do not react, you gather data. When you react emotionally, you leak data. Leaked data becomes leverage for others. This applies beyond politics. In friendships, workplaces, and romantic dynamics, attention defines value. If you are always available, always responding instantly, always explaining yourself, you position yourself as accessible. Accessibility lowers perceived rarity. Rarity increases perceived value. When you withdraw selectively, you create scarcity. Scarcity intensifies desire. This is not manipulation through deception. It is understanding psychological gravity. People move toward what withdraws from them. They pursue what does not chase them. The moment you stop chasing approval, approval often follows. But this only works if your withdrawal is genuine. If you ignore outwardly while internally craving validation, the tension will leak. Your body language will betray impatience. Your tone will reveal irritation. True strategic ignoring requires inner detachment. Detachment from the need to be understood by everyone. Detachment from the need to correct every narrative. Detachment from the urge to prove. When someone spreads criticism about you, the weak response is to defend publicly. The powerful response is to strengthen privately. Build results, build alliances, build reputation. Reputation will silence what arguments cannot. Silence combined with visible strength reshapes perception more effectively than debate. There is also a tactical layer. When you ignore provocations, you force others to escalate if they want engagement. Escalation reveals character. It exposes emotional instability. It shows who cannot regulate themselves. The calm individual becomes contrast. Contrast creates authority. Authority shifts power without confrontation. Social dominance does not always require speech. It requires composure under pressure. By refusing to react to small challenges, you communicate that your threshold for engagement is high. High threshold implies high status. Low threshold implies insecurity. Men with low thresholds argue constantly. Men with high thresholds choose carefully. Choice is power. The ultimate application of ignoring is selective invisibility. You appear when necessary and disappear when irrelevant. You do not attend every conflict. You do not answer every message instantly. You do not validate every opinion. This unpredictability makes you harder to read, and the unreadable individual controls the pace of interaction. Pace control is frame control. Frame control is power. When you master this, something shifts in social dynamics. People begin measuring their approach with you. They think before speaking. They hesitate before provoking. Because your silence is no longer emptiness. It is consequence waiting to be decided. And that anticipation creates psychological pressure stronger than any immediate reaction ever could. The final transformation into someone untouchable does not happen the moment you start ignoring people. It happens when ignoring no longer feels like effort. At first, silence feels heavy. You feel the urge to respond. You feel the instinct to defend. You feel the impulse to prove your worth. But discipline applied repeatedly reshapes your internal structure. Eventually, the need to react weakens. You begin to see provocation as noise. You begin to recognize that most attacks are not about you, but about the attacker's insecurity. This awareness creates distance, and distance creates freedom. Untouchable men are not emotionless. They are selective. They care deeply about what aligns with their purpose and completely detach from what does not. They understand that caring too much about external opinions becomes a chain that binds their behavior to the reactions of others. When you care excessively about what critics say, you allow critics to design your emotional state. When you crave approval, you give strangers control over your mood. This is subtle slavery. Strategic indifference breaks that chain. It is not hatred. Hatred still binds you to the target. It keeps them present in your mind. True power lies in neutrality. When someone cannot generate emotional response from you, they lose influence over you. And influence is what most people truly seek. The ruthless aspect of ignoring is that it deprives others of psychological access. Access to your anger, access to your frustration, access to your need for validation. Without access, they cannot manipulate. Without manipulation, they cannot control. The untouchable man becomes difficult to move because he no longer reacts reflexively. He chooses when to engage and when to remain absent. That choice creates asymmetry. Others chase clarity, others chase reassurance, others chase reaction. He offers none unless it serves his position. Over time, this selective engagement reshapes how people perceive him. He appears grounded, hard to read, difficult to provoke, and what is difficult to provoke is difficult to defeat. The transformation also changes your internal dialogue. Instead of asking, "How do I respond to this?" you begin asking, "Does this deserve my response at all?" That single shift filters most conflicts out of your life. You conserve energy, you conserve attention, you invest only where there is return. This conservation compounds. While others exhaust themselves in endless micro-conflicts, you remain stable. Stability builds reputation. Reputation builds authority. Authority builds power. Untouchable does not mean invisible. It means insulated. Insulated from trivial noise. Insulated from emotional traps. Insulated from the expectations of those who contribute nothing to your trajectory. When you master this, something subtle but powerful occurs. People stop trying to provoke you casually. They sense the lack of payoff. They sense that their words fall into silence, and silence becomes your shield. The world expects reaction. It feeds on outrage, on defense, on visible emotion. When you withdraw from that cycle, you step outside the arena of emotional combat. From outside, you observe patterns clearly. You see who seeks attention. You see who seeks validation. You see who seeks dominance through noise. And you remain unmoved. That is the ruthless core of this philosophy. Not cruelty, not aggression, but disciplined indifference. The ability to starve irrelevance into extinction. The ability to let critics fade without confrontation. The ability to make enemies exhaust themselves trying to reach you. In the end, ignoring is not about others. It is about sovereignty. Sovereignty over your reactions. Sovereignty over your attention. Sovereignty over your emotional energy. And when your inner state no longer depends on external noise, you become something rare. A man who cannot be baited. A man who cannot be steered. A man who cannot be controlled through provocation. And in a world addicted to reaction, that man becomes untouchable.